When you're told to wear masks, know that there is no substantial science that supports that. I'm a former medical editor. I know how to read the damn science. I've read the science, and it does not support what we're recommending. And that's got to stop. And you need to be armed with the knowledge to know that community wearing of masks is ineffective and it may be dangerous. Great people out there that rise to honor our fallen soldiers. But just like them, you all are doing your duty to start building herd immunity in our population. You cannot hide from a virus. You cannot shelter in place and escape a viral infection. God gave you an amazing immune system. That is how you battle this virus. I'm going to drop some medical truth on you because you are being used, you're being fed misinformation, pseudoscience by Fauci, Birx, Redfield, Bill Gates. You are being prepared for an untested, unsafe vaccine that is highly experimental for a virus that has never been amenable to vaccination. Whenever it's been tested, we've been trying to develop a coronavirus for many years. In animal studies, when a coronavirus vaccine was tested, as soon as those animals were re-exposed to the wild-type virus, their organs melted. They had an autoimmune disease process, an enhanced immunity, an enhanced immune process that destroyed them. And so that was stopped, and yet we're going to fast-track a vaccine.
They're trying to kill us?
And it's going to be mandated for every human on the planet, and this is my concern. So you're going to have to resist that because that's what's coming your way. It's going to be a vaccine. It's going to be an expensive antiviral that has always failed. The remdesivir trials are showing 20% adverse events, and they're glossing over that. They're not doing peer-reviewed science. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. I want to get this right. So I am an ophthalmologist that specializes in ocular immunology and inflammation. For 21 years, I've been practicing in this area of medicine. I know a thing or two about the immune system. I know much more than a room full of pediatricians that aren't telling you all the story that you need to know about the vaccines that they're injecting into you. I know that wearing masks in a community wear situation is not backed by science. In fact, what they're not telling you about these recommendations for mask wear is that masks drop your oxygen in your blood. This virus has special features. It has a furin cleavage domain that was a gain of function that was brought into this virus. It was funded by Fauci. It was funded by Gates in the Wuhan laboratory. When your arterial oxygen drops, that virus through that furin cleavage site becomes much more infectious. It's much more capable of invading your cells. It becomes much more dangerous. So when you're told to wear masks, know that there is no substantial science that supports that. The studies that doctors will cite were done on hospital care workers in a hospital setting where we are highly trained in the proper use of masks. It's a sterile procedure. When I do a surgery that lasts more than an hour, I change my mask because the moisture has saturated that mask to the point where it is no longer effective and it becomes ineffective to me. It not only lowers my arterial oxygen, but it makes it dangerous to my patient. And yet we're being told to wear masks. We're being told to wear cloth masks, which may dramatically increase infectivity. I'm a former medical editor. I know how to read the damn science. I've read the science, and it does not support what we're recommending. And that's got to stop. And you need to be armed with the knowledge to know that community wearing of masks is ineffective and it may be dangerous. The other pseudoscience fraud and misinformation that's being parroted by the mockingbird mainstream media is that we should be locking down. That is an experiment on the human population that has never been done before. Every pandemic, and there's been many. I survived the 1968 pandemic. My mother was a frontlines worker in the hospital. She got the Hong Kong flu. I got it as a 3-year-old. I still remember the fever dreams from that time. But you know what we did? We overcame it, and we became a part of the herd immunity. And that's what you're all doing. If you want to protect the vulnerable populations of this country, if you want to protect the elderly and the comorbid conditions that Cuomo did not, as he released more infected long-term care patients back into those long-term care centers, killing 33% of the deaths in New York are on the hands, the blood is on the hands of Cuomo and his health director. Don't let, and you are captive here in Illinois. I've seen Pritzker, I've seen Lightfoot. They are megalomaniacs. They're drunk with power. And why are all these blue states doing this? It's an agenda that goes beyond science. The science does not support what they do. Why did I pay for my own tickets and fly out here from Tulsa, Oklahoma to do this? Because 36 years ago, I took an oath. I took an oath to serve and protect from both enemies, foreign and domestic. 21 years ago, I took an oath to do no harm. I see my medical profession. I see the pharmaceutical industrial medical complex doing harm in this country. We are not testing vaccines. The vaccine that will be mandated, if you haven't seen H.R. 666, the TRACE Act, you're not paying attention. We are seeing the rise of a medical police state. They are weaponizing the departments of health to come to your families, to separate your families, to separate you from your children, and it cannot be allowed. We have to be like those soldiers that selflessly charge into the heat of battle, that sacrifice life and limb to protect you. You've got to arm yourself with knowledge, you've got to arm yourself with the information that you need, and then you've got to spread it to all around you so that they know the truth. Masks will not help. Lockdowns will not help. You can't hide from a virus. You've got to spread it. You've got to become a part of the resistance by becoming a part of the strong immune systems that will protect you from every other virus. You cannot submit yourself to a mandatory vaccine that has not been tested. And by the way,
no consent.
An absolute travesty of our spiritual and our medical freedoms occurs in our children every day when they are injected with the remnants, the microfragment DNA of aborted fetal cells. The chickenpox vaccine has twice as much human antigen as it has varicella, the chickenpox antigen. The rubella virus is grown on an aborted fetal cell line from the 1960s that has been replicating endlessly for over 60 years. Over that period of time, tumorigenic genes have been rising in that cell line that was derived from a child that on a moment of its birth, it was captured in a saline bag. If it wasn't already dead, it was suffocated. It was immediately taken by the vaccine researchers to a laboratory where they vivisected, they tore it apart, and they harvested the fetal tissue that they would use to become the host cells for the creation of vaccines. That's been going on for 60 years. A group out of Italy exposed recently, about a year ago, the tumorigenic, over 570 genes have become tumorigenic in these aborted fetal cell lines. Now, I mention all of this because 3 of the 8 candidates for the vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine, that your taxpayer dollars are paying for, are going to be made using aborted fetal cells. The cell line is HEK 293. Remember that. Look it up. Arm yourself with knowledge. You will once again be damaging yourself, potentially autoimmune disease, cancers being caused by these DNA microfragments that can be taken up by your stem cells in your bloodstream. Adults have stem cells. This is a travesty of medical science. It's a travesty of our spirit as well. As a fully devoted follower of Christ, I think that this is absolutely something that you're not being told. Parents are not told that their children are being injected with these autoimmune inducing disease. We have 54% of children in the world today that are suffering from one or more of 21 chronic diseases. We are the most vaccinated population of children on the planet, and we're the sickest population of children on the planet. At some point, we've got to recognize these truths. We've got to understand, and you've got to wake up, and you have to become the resistance. Thank you very much. God bless you all.